Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. If Trump agrees to Putin's demands, will that encourage Xi Jinping to attack Taiwan? What are Bharat's options and what can Bharat do to use this opportunity? This is going to be our topic today, and let's welcome our guest 𝗤𝗎𝗍𝗍 PG, and we'll have questions after that. You can ask on any topic because this is an Ask Sumit episode. Let's welcome 𝗤𝗎𝗍𝗍 PG. 𝗤𝗎𝗍, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Jai Sri Ram, Radhe sir, all good and fine by your Ashirwad and Group of Lord Mayakal, and wishing all our brothers and sisters across the world very happy very happy time and a namaskar to all.
Thank you so much, 𝗤𝗎𝗍𝗍. So I'm just going to set the stage for what's going to take place in a few hours from now in Washington, D.C. Well, first, there is going to be a one-on-one meeting between Trump and Zelensky, and it is believed that J.D. Vance also will be in that meeting. The 7 European leaders are not going to be in that meeting. This is supposed to be 1 to 3 hours. So they are going to discuss to some details what is going to happen, what you have to give, what you have to get, and things of that nature, it looks like. And then probably Zelensky will first have to be convinced. Then probably Trump will say, you need to go and sell it to your European neighbors, I think. Because Trump is the kind of person, he's not going to let anybody else steal the limelight. But if you can think of so many European leaders also there, this is not all of them participating in a meeting. This is how the format is. So that's the first thing that people need to understand. So at least there is something like Trump has said, if you don't do the deal now, then I'm going to not even sell the equipment through NATO countries. You're on your own. And that means that pretty much curtains. So some kind of a threat has also been given to the European countries. So that's one side. On the other side, if let's say Putin gets a lot of what he wants, I don't think he'll get all of what he wants. He'll get a lot of what he wants. Then would that encourage China, Xi Jinping, to make a move on Taiwan? After all, he annexed Hong Kong. Biden said nothing. They should have stopped that, but they did not. So that is a big problem there. And would that encourage China to do it? And then what are Bharat's options? Right now, we know that Pakistan is basically a vassal state. Who it talks to, whose commands it accepts, given day it might change. One day it might be China's commands, one day it could be United States command. So a lot of uncertainty there. So given all these things, there is a window of opportunity for India, because China, if it ends up attacking Taiwan, it will have to commit almost all of its forces there. Will then India go and break up Pakistan for 1 second, maybe get back 𝗤𝗓𝗏? I won't call it 𝗥𝗘𝗏. We all know what I mean when I say 𝗤𝗓𝗏. And also liberate POK and GB. All these things have significant Chinese presence too. People have to understand that there is significant Chinese presence too. So will that end up happening? And in the meantime, will America help India perhaps even go and liberate Tibet? Possible. All these are possible because it's an exact opposite side. And China cannot move troops away from Taiwan once it commits to that. So a lot of things are possible. And I wanted to have your views on this. Clearly, Europe needs to continue this war because they don't have the money to pay some of the derivative financial instruments that they have sold to their customers. They don't have the money. So what happens is, if you declare war against Russia, then what happens is you'll say, okay, now it is, you have to save the country. All bets are off. So all the losses, all the, IOUs, IOU money, all those things will just get done, reset. Because what other thing people are seeing is money is fleeing Europe and going to United States. It is believed that there is some sort of a capital control that's going to be coming to United Kingdom also. The day that comes, what I'm saying is happening. That means that Europe is getting ready for World War III. In fact, many prediction models are saying next year there's going to be World War III. I mean, this is like the World War level thing where multiple conflicts in multiple regions and so on and so forth. This is all I have as a preamble. 𝗤𝗎𝗍𝗍, I'd like to hear your opinion, and then maybe we can have some back and forth. Over to you.
Sir, in the name of Lord Sree Ganesha, let's do the Sree Ganesha's of today's show. I think I completely concur with what you are saying, because when I look at the things, I'll give you my assessment and my key takeaways. The first thing is that, we were very categoric on PGurus channel, because that Zelensky decides nothing. It is all determined, decided, and the outcome of any meeting will be finally decided by Europe. Putin leaving, warning the European leaders. President Trump saying is Zelensky and the European leaders, I have to talk to people in NATO and some people in Europe. I think the pretext of everything was pretty much clear. Then yesterday, we came to know that Macron will be accompanying Zelensky. But today morning, I think by today afternoon India time, we are doing everybody's accompanying Zelensky. And what Zelensky did, Zelensky pulled a quick one. He stopped in Brussels. In Brussels, he does a press conference and rolls around one day. And then they talk again, oh, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. This is not negotiable, this is not talkable. All the usual rhetoric. Then finally, we end up 7 European leaders. We are expecting General Ruth. We are expecting Ursula. We are expecting all of them to be there. And I was tracking the White House. The White House says, I have never seen so many European leaders coming to White House at one go. So what is Europe fearing? What is Europe worried at? Look, Europe fears Russia. That is a given. NATO charter fine, how much is it effective? I don't know. I mean, there are people who have apprehensions around that. Zelensky was also given a guarantee that you will not join NATO, but you will get a NATO Charter 5 kind of a protection. Zelensky replied back, you say in 1994, when you took our nuclear weapons, there were 3 countries, Russia, America, and UK, who gave us all the protection. By the way, that point of time, Zelensky, Ukraine had 1900 nukes and a lot of tactical nuclear weapons. This was the 3rd biggest nuclear arsenal in the world which Ukraine had. So they agreed to this guarantee, whatever. And then the nukes went in. They said, nobody came to save me. So why should I trust you this time? This is where Zelensky gets history into it. Now Europe says, look, you are my buffer. As long as Russia keeps on pounding you, Russia will not cross you and come to me. So I want you to keep on dying. I want you to keep on getting killed. So as long as you guys get killed, we are very safe. So what I have to just give you some money and some weapons. It is the minimalistic cost. I want to keep the Putin away. What Putin believes is that I want to expand my territory. I want to send a very strong message to NATO. And Putin has carefully and categorically said to Trump, look, NATO is not working. And this Russian-speaking areas, including recognition of Crimea and all this is going to happen. Yes, they might be able to trade some land here and there. But mostly Putin is going to be adamant on his things. Now, for Zelensky, the options are limited because after the phone call with Zelensky, he got the Europeans involved. And now 7 leaders coming, General Ruth coming, Ursula von der Leyen coming. What is their business in all this? Logically, we were told so far it's a conflict between Ukraine and Russia. But when we at PGurus channel and everybody else says that it was a conflict between Europe, NATO, America, fighting through Ukraine, trying to defeat Putin, a lot of people would not agree to us. But now this is very clear. Now, what is the situation here? You are entering a pressure cooker here. I'll tell you how. Zelensky does not know what to do. He doesn't control anything. JD Vance told you, I'm stopping you the money. I'm not giving the money. Now, Sree sir was just telling us that if you don't agree to us, even the American companies won't sell weapons to you. So where do you get the weapons from? You will get a bit of weapons from Germany and you will get a bit of weapons from Italy. They are the 2 people who manufacture maximum metal weapons in the Europe. But the quantum of weapons you need, if you need these Patriots, if you need the 𝗏𝗏𝗏, they are not manufactured by any of them. So you'll get those small arms, small weapons, but not the big weapons what you need to defend against Russia. So that is the option number 1. So what does Europe want? Europe will want that I want to protect my interests. I want Zelensky to be there. And I want the guarantees which will enable the peace and security for Europe. That is what they want. Zelensky wants not to lose face. Zelensky is ask Putin that he has kind of stopped the war. But what is Putin saying? He is saying, ask Zelensky that you have surrendered. That is the basic difference here. Now, Europe does not want to stop the war because of their vested interests, their vested reasons. And Zelensky is in a quagmire. He doesn't know where to go, right and left. Trump wants to be a peacemaker. He wants to be at least seen as a peacemaker where he tried to stop the war and he got the agreements to one side. And if the war doesn't stop, then the problem is you need a fall guy. It will be Zelensky and the European leaders. But knowing Trump's nature, he would not want to have a fall guy without implications. Now, what are the implications which are with vis-a-vis Europe and vis-a-vis Zelensky? Vis-a-vis Zelensky have no implications, but vis-a-vis Europe, you have limited implications. And what people like Graham are saying our things changed when we cut a deal of minerals with Zelensky. Before that, we had a different strategy. Now, even if you cut a deal with Zelensky, how much of minerals can you extract and all? That is again a question mark. So we have people in the room. We have Trump, who is seen pro-Putin because they know he will try to cut a deal which suits Putin's taste buds or kind of settles in his expectations. A lot of territory has to be given. There'll be no tangible security guarantees. That is what Europe thinks. Trump wants, I want the deal to be cut. I want to go into the history. I want to please my MAGA crowd. I want to be seen as the big boy of the world cutting the deals. That is the point number one. Europe does not agree with that, hypothesis, and Europe will not directly confront Trump. They will not directly confront Putin. Even that is why these 7 guys are coming and tagging along Zelensky. But if Zelensky gets weaker, we'll be able to back up. Till yesterday, the statement from Europe was, we don't want a last time like a scenario to happen wherein Trump and Zelensky were fighting. We want to control that. That's why Macron will go. From Macron, imagine, Sree sir, everybody cuts his visit. Italian Prime Minister to Finnish Prime Minister to General Root to Ursula to German Chancellor, everybody cuts his every program and take a flight and land up in US. This is for the first time in last 30-40 years when the world leaders have traveled to US at such a short notice, rather uninvited. Nobody invited them. They gate crashed into US. We can say that because
I have heard that maybe Trump might have said you also come, because once the basic things are in place with Zelensky, so basically the story will be told to Zelensky, you need to accept this. Now Zelensky may not be, like you said, able to say yes or no. He needs to first own it and then go and sell it to his European friends. So Trump has said, it's your baby now. Because if you don't sell it, I'm not going to help you. Over to you.
I mean, sir, the problem here is following. Look, Trump wants to be seen as a peacemaker, getting the deal done. You rejected the deal, and now the onus is not on me. Onus is not on me. Ab tum dekho kya kar raha hai. Now, Zelensky cannot accept the deal because he believes that last time you gave me the guarantees, they never worked on the ground. Even when the Crimea was taken, where was that guarantee? Forget this war. Even when the Crimea was taken, there was no guarantee. Nobody came to my rescue. So why should I trust you now? But the problem is Zelensky cannot fight long. He will lose complete country. There was one person, I forget his name, one of the prominent personalities from Russia. He today said, we'll be happy if Zelensky does not take the peace deal, because that will give Russia an opportunity to take their entire Ukraine. So that is the propaganda which Russians are running. And Russia is also saying he's not the man who can sign the deal. That is besides the factor. Now, Europe wants not to confront Trump. Europe wants to keep the Trump happy. Europe wants to have a good relation with the with Americans. But Europe is worried that if Americans walk out of the situation, can NATO be functional? Can Europe and NATO put together save Ukraine? And even if you're able to save the Ukraine, then tomorrow, if Putin becomes ambitious, what are your options? What are your security guarantees? They know they cannot handle Putin. So they know they need Trump to handle Putin. If Trump walks out of the situation, Putin becomes a beast which they cannot control by any means. They know that. So the options of Europe are limited. But Europe wants that Zelensky should keep on taking the brunt of the war so that we are insulated to some great extent. Now, there are financial calls, there are financial implications which go beyond that. And, to all my, surprise, the cost of fighting for Russians is enormous per day. I don't know how Putin is able to sustain it. And with that, he has a growth of 4.5% in his economy, while as Americans are going at 1.5%. So there are a lot of paradigms which nobody understands. There are a lot of paradigms which are shaky. So Americans will try to get a deal, convince Zelensky this is what is to be done, go and talk to your buddies, take the deal or leave it. What might happen? Because look, Zelensky would not want to snub Trump. Europe cannot, the word is cannot afford to snub the Trump. So what will they do? They will either make some kind of a committee. Okay, now this kind of a consensus committee will have this, will make a charter, and this charter will come meet and then we'll deliberate again. Or they will announce something like, we could not get a deal, but the charter is made, the body is made, this will talk, this will deliberate, our next meeting is then hogi. In the meanwhile, let's have a big package announced, for rebuilding Europe, humanitarian angle, children, humanitarian corridor. Because the point is, if so many leaders meet and agree to nothing, that creates more dissonance and that kills the future ways. So I have to do something. I at least have to be seen as a united house, because if you don't agree and you all fly back home, that means there's a fracture within the NATO, there's a fracture within the West. So this fracture within the NATO and within the West is a clear advantage to Putin. And when this NATO structure within the West and within the cracks is seen, that emboldens Iran, and that kind of gives a lot of weight to Xi Jinping to try what is his trying. Now, why does my logic hold ground? Because today one of the Khamenei's closest aide has said that we may attack Israel again. The war with Israel may start again. So where is he getting all these ideas? Because he's seeing what is happening around. And what is the MAGA crowd doing? MAGA crowd is telling Trump, we don't want you to fight wars out of America. Concentrate on America. There's a lot of trouble which is brewing in America. You have to control that. That is what the MAGA crowd wants. Trump wants a substantial gain. He wants a substantial international, credit to his side. That is what Trump is aiming for. Europe is not convinced with anything. Europe wants that. No, we can't trust the Russia, and we don't want the things to happen. Zelensky is worried about the security guarantees and what do we get out of the deal. I don't want to trade the land, because Zelensky has put a technical point today. Zelensky says, as per the European Union's, forget the European Union, as per the Ukrainian constitution, there is no provision of trading of the land. So how can I trade of the land if the European constitution doesn't permit me to take out the land? So what is Zelensky now hating?
Ukrainian constitution.
Ukrainian constitution does not permit me to trade the land. So what is Zelensky hitting at? Zelensky is telling you, come and defeat me. But defeating Zelensky will take a lot of time, right? So the war continues. The American war industry keeps on getting the orders. And Europeans also thrive. Okay, for a few years, we are out of the Putin's wrath. But war is costing Russia also a lot of money. So now can or will Putin want to continue it for a few more years? That is also a question mark, because this war is not cheap. This is very expensive. Now, here, what is the position of NATO? I don't understand why is General Ruth a part of the meeting. I mean, what is his contribution going to? Because when he met Trump last time, Trump was talking of 12 days. Then he said, okay, no, kind of 50 days. Now, Trump's fundamental 3 position changes. First, Trump said that ceasefire. Then when he landed up in Washington, D.C., he had a couple of good calls. He said, no, not ceasefire. I'm talking about a peace agreement, and ceasefire is eventually a part of it. Then today, just a few hours before our show, I was again tracking it. He said, okay, no peace agreement, no ceasefire, but the talk should still continue. Because at the end of the ground, you cannot have the ceasefire, you cannot have the peace agreement, but do you scuttle the talks? So he is backed out on 2 things. The talk should continue. Putin, on the contrary, is maintaining his position. Putin and Ukraine is okay for some land swap here and there. Minus that, his position is unchanged. And even if when this summit was announced, if you look at the attacks on Kharkiv and one more region of the Ukraine, they were quite devastating. Putin's arsenal is all-time high, which NATO knows, Europe knows. And now, Putin calling Modi ji. Just, I think 2 hours, 3 hours back, he called Modi ji. Modi ji tweeted. I had a call from Putin, and Putin updated me what was the meeting in Alaska, what was the outcome, and I don't know what exactly they discussed and what is possibly things going to be in the future. Of course, the nitty-gritties are not in the tweet. Now suddenly the things change. Now Putin is getting Modi involved. Putin is calling Modi ji and saying, sir, this is what happened. Logically, till this date, Bharat was not a part of it. Logically, till this date, NATO was not a part of it. Logically, till date, all the European nations were not directly involved into it. So if Zelensky is trying to get Europeans and Zelensky is trying to get NATO involved in it, Putin will also try to get friendly countries involved in it, which India, for sure, because India has a leverage on both the sides. And so far, as I know, before this show, I don't think he has called Xi Jinping, but in the future, he might call Xi Jinping as well. So it will be a very interesting aspect to see. You have Europe, you have NATO, and you have Zelensky on the other side with one interest. You have Putin with another interest. You have Trump with another interest. And Putin is trying to get India, possibly China, possibly a few more countries, maybe BRICS countries or non-BRICS countries behind it. So if you have a formation where you have India, China, and Russia on one side, and you have, Europe and NATO and Zelensky on the other side, now Trump has to play the referee, which puts Trump in a very fundamentally disadvantageous situation. Because if Trump is seen weak, that will embolden Iran, that will embolden China. And if China and Iran get emboldened, it's not a good news for Bharat, because for Bharat, then you have to really see if we support China or if we get into this block, what does Putin give us as a guarantee? Putin must give us some guarantees on the law. Look, Bharat, I can predict you what Bharat is going to say. Bharat will say, we respect the territorial sovereignty of the Ukraine. We are for peace and tranquility of the region. We think negotiation is the only solution, and we think it should be settled amicably. I can predict you these are the 4 words, but Bharat's statement will come whenever it will come. Bharat will never talk about one thing, I will tell you, Sree sir. Bharat will never talk about what do you call that? What do you call, not territorial? So dollar will not talk about territorial compromise. Bharat will not even get into that because they knows there's going to be a territorial compromise here. Sovereignty and territorial compromise are two different things. Sovereignty is good, but not territorial. We'll not get into that space. Should there, would there be a territorial exchange or compromise or not? Because it doesn't get. Why? Because if I look at Bharat's interests, our 70% of the weapons are still Russian. We're having a lot of frictions with America right now. Our AMCs are there. We still get a lot of Russian oil, cheap oil. We still get fertilizers from Russia. And Putin calling Modi is to get Modi back into the international stage. And obviously, Modi has a weight, Bharat has a weight, and that weight will determine a lot. So if you can get 7 European leaders on your side, one Modi is more than those leaders. So it's a game of balance and counterbalance which is being played. Bharat will tread its things carefully. Bharat will not want to antagonize Europe. Bharat may not want to further antagonize America. But at the same time, Bharat cannot afford at the cost of Ukraine to antagonize Russia. So Bharat will be really walking a tightrope. So we might say we respect sovereignty of Ukraine, but we'll never talk of the territorial compromise or should it be done, should it not be done. But in the heart of heart, Bharat wants Russia to get an edge in Ukraine, because if that happens and the war stops, our relations with Russia is out, our issue of sanctions gets settled out. That is for the interest of Bharat. But if it doesn't happen, that makes our life a bit complex. Then, if Russia wants us, along with China, to be a counterweight, but we will ask Russia, what are your guarantees vis-a-vis China? Can Putin guarantee vis-a-vis Chinese aggression and Chinese nefarious plans? Now, the question is, if Putin goes and says, yes, I'll guarantee you against that, now what happens to Pakistan? Because immediately, if Putin becomes the guarantor for any of the Chinese actions, immediately the proxies like Pakistan and Bangladesh become useless. Now, is China ready to trade off its proxies of Pakistan and Bangladesh and this Maldives for good, at least for 5 to 10 years? Because in those 5 to 10 years, Bharat will be crossing 8 trillion, or maybe much more than that, 12 trillion. At that point of time, and with this Atmanirbhar push, and with this aggression of Modi ji, what we saw on the 15th August, which we discussed, Sree sir, what are the chances of China then ever going to do any vis-a-vis things with Bharat? And the point you make is compelling. Now, that definitely emboldens China, because you have Russia, you have India with your side. So now you go and attack Taiwan. So if you go and attack Taiwan, what happens to Tibet? What happens to 𝗥𝗘? These are again the things which we have to contemplate. And let me tell you, there is already a rebellion in one of the battalions of the Pakistan army, which is reported today. So in Pakistan army, things don't look very good. So would you be willing to trade off your proxies, which you cultivated for 30, 40 years? That is a call which we have to take. And how much can we still trust China? That is a call we have to take. But after Trump, do we want to permanently antagonize our relations with America? Answer is no, we don't want to, because of the Trump, because Trump will go after 2 years. So a new person might have a new outlook. But how do we balance between Russia and China? That's why I've been saying we have to walk a very tight rope and keep on synchronizing our opportunities vis-a-vis Russia and China. Where are the Bharat's opportunities? I see a couple of them. The first thing Bharat must get from Russia is to secure its arms and oil supplies for next 10 years. Get all the technology and transfers you want. Get Bharat to guarantee Putin that there will be no Chinese aggression. You have to, of course, we'll be on the guard. We are able to protect and defend ourselves, but there will be no surprises from China. Putin has to be the guarantee to that. If Putin stands guarantee to that, so China is kind of mitigated, and we will have the support from the Russians on all of the arms we need. Now, the next step would be then Bharat can use this opportunity to crush Pakistan. Then we have to crush Pakistan, and we have to liberate Pakistan from the Mullah military nexus, which is the army of the Pakistan. There will be another war. There will be a decisive war. We have to break Pakistan into 4 parts. So we use this trade-off to get rid of Pakistan, trust China with a half heart for next couple of years, get our economy to around 10 trillion, 12 trillion by that time, get fully Atmanirbhar, reduce the trade dependence on China. You may not be able to cut the volume, but reduce the trade dependence, those critical elements which Modi ji already highlighted, would reduce from the China. And wait, in America, there will be a change of the guard. The change of the guard will happen in next 2 to 3 years. Then we have to see who comes next and how do we angle in there, right? So 3 years will be very important for us. And in the meanwhile, European Union, you have to very carefully maintain your relation with all the countries, because in Europe there are 7 countries which matter, 7 countries. So either than talking to Ursula von der Leyen, and who has her own ambitions and ambitions, 16 years to have a lingering trade deal which has never happened. So the strategy would be to start going and building relation with each of the countries. And pretty much, if the land goes to Russia, Putin is emboldened. This is the second powerful leader after Lenin which has emerged, because he has added the territory. After that, even a lot of questions will come on POK, a lot of questions will come on Gilgit-Baltistan, a lot of questions will emerge over Taiwan, and a lot of questions will emerge even over Japan's disputed islands. A lot of questions will even emerge between the disputes between the Philippines and China, because now there's a new precedence. The precedence is you capture the land, then do the diplomacy. Earlier the precedence was, this is my diplomacy, it doesn't work, then I'll send my cavalry. Now here the things have changed. I send my cavalry first. I capture the land. Now you capture the land. I'll bat the table. Let's sit on the table and see how much do you agree, how much do I agree. Definitely that becomes a bit of a Wild West. And even if Russia recognizes Crimea and all the Russian-speaking regions of the Ukraine, that will be a big setback to Ukraine. And what kind of new precedence, as I said, is something to be seen. And at the same time, I think NATO will be a depleting currency. People will not start trusting NATO anymore. I think there are some Americans which have been telling that the American foreign policy, I was reading today, is all-time low. And there are people who even call Munir as a Osama bin Laden in uniform. So how is America going to handle India? I'll tell you why. There's something unique about India. Indian diaspora.
Can I just come in for a second? One second. I have a question for you, because I'll forget afterwards. You said that there is rebellion in the army of Pakistan. I'll just read down the sizes so that you can tell me what is this. Is it like a battalion which is up to 1,000 people? Is it a company which is up to 250 people? Is it a regiment which is up to battalion? Okay. That will be 2 to 6 companies. And each company is about 250 in size. That's a big number. That's a big number.
And the tensions are mounting. You see, yesterday Munir saying in Brussels, I want to become Shaheed. Why does he suddenly want to become Shaheed? Why does he suddenly want to become martyr? Because he's trying to use these Islamic theocratic concepts to have legitimacy. Because everybody knows whenever a general gets power and money in Pakistan, he flees. So with those troubles, Pakistan is not, after all, sir, give it to Indian army and Indian government after Operation Sindoor. Pakistan is not what it used to be, 12 years back. Imagine 2012 in Pakistan and imagine 2025 Pakistan. Today, Pakistan is not a force at all. It's a lost force. People don't see Pakistan there. And now, Bharat has kind of broken the nuclear bluff, You see, last time Munir ranting, then we had Shahbaz, and we have Khwaja Asif, then we have Bilawal ranting. Did anything matter? Modi replied to everybody on the 15th August, and after that, everybody is silent. Now that he's talking about, let me become the martyr, I want to become the son of the soil, I'm the protector of the Pakistan, Allah has chosen me to do this job. Why does this Islamic rhetoric come into picture? Because somewhere down the line, there is paranoia in his mind. Bharat has to take the full gain of the opportunity. We don't have to burn bridges with everywhere. We have to use this opportunity to do 2 things. To increase our GDP and to become as Atmanirbhar as possible. Now, why Bharat is an enigma for them, I'll tell you. Why? It's very good for us. Now, we have a Bharatiya diaspora, which is pretty much spread everywhere. A big American intellect is controlled by Bharatiya diaspora, right? 1% of the population paying 6% of the tax. And, all the prominent names and all, we're not getting into that. Now, you have a country whose diaspora is most successful, most accepted in America or anywhere in the world. And they are real contributors and people value them. As some of them even become a Vivek Ramaswamy and in the second generation who wants to become the president of the United States of America, rightfully so, no problems. Good luck to Vivek. Now, secondly, you have this diaspora who has big, not only corporate, but they have also political ambitions here. And your diaspora is your soft power. And there's a lot of money which still is repatriated to India, which is highest in the world. Now, you run America's tech, you run America's medical system, you run a lot of corporate part of the America, even you have inroads into NASA. Then you go to Americans and say, look, I want to buy weapons from you. Here is the money on the table, I want to buy weapons from you. America says, good. Now you go to Russia and say, I want to buy your Su-57. I want to buy your Russian oil, and I'll be sending 1 million Indians to work in Russia. And that is what is being proposed. So you are my friend, okay? Then you go to the Islamic world. They say, I want to buy oil from you, and I want to buy this from you. I want to buy tea, coffee, whatever. Import, export of things. Good. Your third biggest trading partner is United Arab Emirates, UAE. Muslim country, third biggest trading partner, $100 billion of trade. Okay, that is what the numbers will go. Now you are doing FTAs with everybody. Now you are the best friends of Jewish people. That is Israel. Yet your energy policy, your foreign policy, and your pretty much outlook on geopolitics is pretty independent. Now America is not used to having such people who can go and literally go everywhere, and every camp and every fraction in the world or every division in the world pretty much kind of welcomes them. Now the problem becomes more complex for America is Modi, because Modi does not have a family. He doesn't need to build billions for his people. He's not corrupt. He's not corruptible. He is like an open book. Now Modi is a person who runs a lot of his thought process driven on Hindu Shastras and Upanishads and all. And then he's the only leader who's part of ITU to SU, BRICS, Quad, G20 and all. The only one leader who is connected to all the important forums of the world, which Putin and Trump doesn't have an advantage. Now combine these two, and then you have Atmanirbhar push make in India. It makes India an enigma for them. It is the strength of India. The collective strength of India, Modi, and the way India has been conducting itself makes it an enigma for them. They are not used to handling such people. They want people who are corrupt. They want people who are interested. They want people who want money. There are people who want to get their son $100 billion or $20 billion. They allow somebody like Hunter Biden, who can be used for the great political gains. But here you have a person who doesn't want anything. He doesn't want even money he doesn't want even Elon Musk to come and put money for his campaign. So this makes for them India unpredictable, and they don't know how to handle India. And that too, when you have a clear distinction between dharma and what is your karma yoga and what is your raj yoga, you understand that very well, and you draw your battlefield and you draw your maps according to that. This kind of a client is not a proper word, this kind of a partner America has never handled. Name me one partner which fits this description. There's nobody else. So here you always has leverage. Your leverage is with India dying, and even for the jet engine and all, Modi was very clear. Let's make our own engines. Let's kind of do it our own. So eventually, if China is your today's problem, India is going to be your tomorrow's problem. But with Chinese, you can still say they're autocratic, it's a dictatorship and all. What are you going to say with the Indians? It's the world's largest vibrant democracy. There is nothing much you can say. And at the end of the day, forget European Union. If Giorgia Meloni comes, don't you think she will have very good relations with Modi? Macron has very good relations with Modi. Germans have very good relations with Modi. Which European leader has bad relations with India and Modi? Nobody. There's not even one I can think of. So collectively, you might still say something, but when it comes to France, you want to sell me jets. Italy wants to sell me something. Germany wants to sell me something. Poland wants some access from me, wants to have access to my markets. Which country today does not want to come and do business with India? Because China is history. America is a saturated economy. The only option which you have is Bharat. So you will all want to come Bharat. And Bharat's military might is increasing. And Bharat is able to take on 2 nuclear rogue states at one point of time. And able to shatter your Islamic bomb or the nuclear blackmail of Pakistan. That puts Bharat in a very unique position, and with a demographic dividend, sir, 100 years of assured business. 100 saal ka assured business with Bharat. Right? Now, if you look at the macroeconomic factors between us and America, our macroeconomic factors are doing quite well. And we have the advantage of the age. And still a vibrant democracy, things are working well. And the advantage with Putin is he doesn't have to fight an election. He's always there till eternity. So, with these factors going on, and with the pulls and currents of the world, and what you rightly mentioned about if the world starts, if the money starts leaving Europe and going to America, with the aging population and a negative birth rate, what are your options? What are you going to do? You're going to find one Zelensky or some other Zelensky or some other person who can go and start a big war. That will be your ultimate saving grace, because you may not have the money to pay for the bonds. You may not have the money to pay for the borrowings which you have done. So rather than saying, I don't have money, start a war, say, sab kuch barabar, zero, let's start from anew. And if you look at the history of the world, First World War and all, that's what had happened. I don't understand one thing. What are the so many big stakes of Europeans in Russian, Ukraine war. There are no stakes. And Trump has been very clear, you cannot join NATO. If that Zelensky would have agreed 3 years back, he would have been a much better man. Ukraine would have been a much better country. So after all this killing and after this blood spilled after 3 years, if you're going back to the square one, what does that tell you? So this war was always propagated by some people. This war was always propagated by vested interests who wanted this war to continue. And even today, they will not want this war to stop. They will never want this war to stop. Yeah, there'll be repercussions on the world. A lot of people will die, and a lot of things can happen. Things can go wrong. And what you rightly said, there will be this. We are looking at the world war. And even Trump told last time, Zelensky, do you know what are you doing? You're leading, or you're going to start a world war soon. And that is pretty much what is going to happen. One person has to jump the gun. One person jumps the gun and it all starts. I'm not saying Russia doesn't have problems. Russia has its own problems. Russia has its own vulnerabilities. But if I look at the scenario, the destruction power of Russia is much bigger than all of Europe put together. But do you still want to do it? And with 40,000 people in your army, I don't know what Keir Starmer wants to achieve. Honestly, do you think you can defeat Russia with a 40,000 army? And forget Italy and all. I don't know how many they have in there. So and if Americans walk out, who are you? Who's your anchor? You don't have an anchor. You can't survive on you. So, but then advantage to China all around. So how everything what is happening in the world is slowly turning to be advantage to China. And Bharat's position is very clear. We are not backing down on the deal. We see this as a Samudra Manthan, sir. I see this as a Samudra Manthan. You will have wish which somebody else has to have this time. We will not have our Mahadev have the wish. There will be a lot of fruits of a Samudra Manthan which will come up. And we are smart enough now. We have learned our lessons. We know how to take the best out of it. We'll make the best out of it because we have the demographic dividend on our side, but the fastest growing economy on our side. And now every Indian understands geopolitics to a great extent. And we understand what are the political games which are being played. Even there are political games being played today in our parliament. If you look at the VP elections, if you look at the Bihar fiasco, what is Bihar fiasco? It's a political game which is being played. I mean, some people is using some politicians here to kind of play these games. But as a country, we have gone through it. I think if we are able to dismantle Pakistan, push ourselves to $10 to $12 trillion, get the world recognize our power, not as a counterweight, but as the deciding factor. That is what we'll do. And at the same time, we are able to kind of keep China at bay for a couple of years. By the time we reach a number wherein we are very, very powerful, we develop our IPR, we develop our Atmanirbhar Bharat, we do make in India. By that time, we'll have that kavach on for all our strategic installations. By that time, Sudarshan will be completely up and running. So in this process, if we can buy a couple of years and do what we have set to achieve, I think the Bharat of what before Modi and after Modi is completely different. I think 10 years down the line, if 2035 we talk again, it will be altogether different Bharat. And when I was talking to a couple of people, I mean, now people are very excited about the Sudarshan and how we have really kind of given back to Pakistan the nuclear bluff and all that. So today people's focus on Bharat, the kind of expectations of Bharat have increased. They want Bharat to go more. And this is how you become a geopolitical powerhouse. You are not a player now, sir. You are a powerhouse. You determine where the things will go. People thought one point of time, oh, China is the only one who is there. Bharat is not there. But now today, what does this tell you? Putin calls Modi ji. Putin does not call Xi Jinping. This is where the power equations have changed permanently. NATO is there. Bharat's opportunities are there. I listed out 3-4 things which Bharat should do, must do. Okay, there will be finite details. Kisme kya karna. But these are the 4-5 things which we could do, we should do. And getting time and not getting into conflicts at the right point of time. Yeah, you have to dismantle Pakistan. Not getting conflicts with China at this point of time will be the most ideal situation for Bharat. If Bharat's diplomacy and politics can negotiate as this, I'm telling you, even the relations with America and European Union all will improve after some point of time. It's a matter of 2 or 3 years. Sir.
Thank you so much, Sumiji. I just needed to round out what you said. Russia is not in a great situation either. You said that Russia's economy is struggling. See, we don't know in exchange for what China did. Like China went in and upgraded all their manufacturing, like defense manufacturing facilities, to the latest state-of-the-art robotics equipment. You can watch Elmer videos with me where he says specific things, this. That's how Russia is able to manufacture so many of its own. So in exchange for that, what did Putin commit to Xi Jinping or to CCP? Not CCP, I'm sorry. Chinese Communist Party. So we don't know what that is. So there's also that unknown equation there. We have to wait and see how this goes. I think both sides are tired. Both sides have lost a lot of people. Otherwise, why would North Korean soldiers be fighting Russia's war against Ukraine? Also, I have to tell you this, viewers, Pakistan has sold out almost all their ammunition to Ukraine. So tomorrow, if he decides to march in, they don't even have bullets.
Khali hai, sir. Zero. That is why Field Marshal wants to become martyr and will definitely fulfill his wish. Definitely. 100%.
Well, a couple of bombs fell within 20 kilometers of where he was hiding, so he knows. So let's move on to some questions now, Sumitji. This is like a lot of unknowns. At the same time, there are definite trends that we see, which is what we have shared here with you. Hope you liked it, and please, by way of comments, to express what you felt about this video. Let's go to questions now.
I just have one line.
Yeah.
One line. I have not seen so many world leaders going to US to stop one war. It's not about war. It's much beyond that. I mean, have you seen so many people come up to stop a war between A and B? You know, there's a war between A and B, and C, D, E, F, G, H, all are there. What are they doing? It's much beyond that.
Thank you so much. Let's take questions now. Magnet wants to know, Namaste ji, with Trump key, can the European leaders influence Trump's decision on Ukraine?
Not to a great extent. That's why they are going.
They explained to you, Magnet, how the sequence is going to be. He's going to be only talking to Zelensky
first.
So, yeah, go ahead.
But these people can always start a war. That is my worst nightmare. These people can. They have done it in the World War First.
Very true. Muthukumar wants to know, PGurus, why world leaders are falling prey to American deceit, knowing well fate of those who have been destroyed by them is USA. I don't say that is true, Muthukumar. It is mostly wars have been started in Europe. Whether you take World War I or II, it was not the United States that started it. It was started by Europe. In the First World War, US did not enter until 1917, in the third of the 4-year war. In the case of Second World War, they did not enter until Pearl Harbor happened, which was in 1942, a good 3 years into the war. So I think there is a more complex situation here at play. So just wait, more clarity will come. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, adding on to your point, sir, you are absolutely right that what even I just said, that my worst nightmare is these guys, if they, they will not slap Trump in the face. They will say yes, no, and walk away. But what if they start a war? What if somebody goes and sends a couple of missiles into Russia? It's very easy to get NATO pulled into this war. It's very easy to get America pulled into this war. But the problem with the MAGA crowd is they don't want America to fight Russia. MAGA crowd doesn't want that. They don't want America to fight a Ukrainian war. Trump cannot handle that. Imagine tomorrow you are sending your troops to fight Russia or fight a couple of those people in the Europe. Who wants that to happen? Nobody wants that to, but these people can very well start a major fire. That is what they're fully capable of. That's where the problem is.
Next question. With Trump asking, working against India, by any chance that RaGa is colluding with CIA, why won't EC pursue legal discourse against him? Election Commission.
You see, EC has given him a warning, and EC has told him that he has to submit an affidavit and all. I was on a couple of TV debates on that, and Congress spokespersons don't have any answer to that. I'm telling you one thing. Look, I might be running a political agenda, but if you start attacking me more, my political agenda gets bigger and better. How was Sheikh Hasina's government dislodged? You started questioning the legitimacy of the election. How was a lot of governments dislodged in Pakistan? You question the legitimacy of the election. What is being tried here, if I be direct? They are trying to, question the legitimacy of the election commission. So the elections commission's legitimacy is questionable. And if you start reacting to RaGa, it becomes an international issue. Then somebody from Europe, somebody from America somewhere will say, yes, this is a serious concern and we are looking into it. If Marco Rubio can say that we are monitoring the ceasefire between India and Pakistan, monitoring, the word is monitoring, why can't tomorrow he say, yeah, we are looking at it, it's an area of concern? So it is, you have to handle this thing very carefully, keep it as a local issue, don't make it as a bigger issue, and don't give RaGa the political mileage which he needs definitely. So reacting too much to him is giving him that mileage. And this is exactly what happened. Trump fired the BLS boss, Dr. 𝗍𝗂𝗏, saying the numbers are false, she works for Democrats. Exactly something like here is done, dismantling institutional credibility. Then if the institution's credibility is dismantled, the outcome which institution gave will be already compromised. That is what they might tell you next day. So the things have to be handled very, very carefully. And you don't have to make it blow the issue out of the proportion. RaGa is going to lose Bihar, I can predict you now. So let's not give him the political shine which he needs very badly.
Next one, please. One issuer wants to know, did DJT inadvertently advertise USA is buying Russian products, bypassing their own sanctions? This is hypocrisy at 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗪 level. Did he say that? Donald Trump.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what happened. There's a statement from Putin which says that after Trump took over, my business with America has increased by 20%. This is a statement from Putin, because it is true that there is around $3-4 billion of imports which Americans are doing of Russian products, and 1.2 million uranium is happening for very long years. So this statement of Putin has really put Putin in a very kind of an advantageous position or a lead, and Trump has to now come and say where did this 20% increase come from? Now he cannot deny it has not happened; it has happened. So it is. You see, Trump was asked one day, "Are you buying Russian energy and Russian uranium?" Trump said, "I don't know." Do you think Trump doesn't know? He knows. He knows it very well, but he doesn't have alternate source. It is not in the interest of Americans to fight Russians. It is not in the interest of the world that you should be fighting. It is very important to make sure that Europe does not start a world war right now. I think if I am there, if I'm controlling the things, my single agenda will be forget ceasefire, forget this peace agreement. I have to make sure these Europeans, if they are flocking to the White House, they are not here to 𝗍𝗘𝗿 𝗔𝗂𝘅. Now let's start a world war. That should not happen. That will be the worst nightmare to come to.
Let's keep the answers short, Swamiji, because we have a lot of questions to go through. Rajaraman wants to know, if Trump washes long-term ally Taiwan, then what will happen to Pakistan and, of course, Israel?
If Trump washes long-term ally Pakistan, okay, Pakistan is our problem, sir. We have to dismantle Pakistan, and I want to do it in my hands given an opportunity. I would be the one doing it. But if I get an opportunity. Look, Israel will be worried because when the China is emboldened, Iran will be also emboldened. I think Benjamin Netanyahu has to go to drawing board and think what will be a strategy which he can manage on your own. Israel might come to Bharat at one point of time. I mean, predicting one day Israel will come to you and ask you for help. Israel must get its relations very firm and formal with Russia, because they will need Russians today or tomorrow. You can't be too dependent on Americans. And Taiwan is in a bit of a soup, because if the first island chain falls, what if tomorrow China decides to take a few islands of Japan by force? What can Japan fight China? No. What if China decides to take a few islands of Philippines by force? Can Philippines fight China? Answer is no. So who will intervene? Because it's also setting a new precedence. It's a bit complex. How can it define? All will depend on the timing from one event to another event. How are the things in between? How would you want to encash on the window? Next.
Milburn wants to know, do you think that Melania Trump's letter to Putin had anything to do with shaking up the cabal, because she mentioned something about innocent children?
I think that letter was more about, that usual thing, we're concerned about innocent children dying and all. But let me ask you one question, brother. Haven't people died in Russia? Why only deaths of Ukraine matter? Why the Russian deaths don't matter? There are a lot of people who died in Russia as well. Unfortunately, some children who would have got killed in Russia as well. Why are you only highlighting one side of the equation? The question here is, you are again using this as per what suits your political agenda. Nobody is bothered about Ukraine, honestly. Ukraine is the, when we planned that carom, Ukraine is that queen which everybody wants to take because you get 10 times the point than a white or a black, white or a black thing in the whole. Basically, you want that queen. That's what the Ukraine is. So nobody is really interested in Ukraine, and that all letter and all is a part of that ongoing strategy. You don't have to see it differently. When Mrs. Trump cannot go against the interest of the President Trump and the husband, and knowing the nature of Trump, nobody will dare to do it.
Next one, please. Aprameya wants to know, Sumitji, will she execute Taiwan takeover just to prop up his supporters inside CCP, but ground reality in CCP is different?
Look, CCP's ground reality is pretty bad. There were also some rumors somewhere that she is hospitalized, but we don't believe it. By that time, we don't have a formal confirmation. CCP is in a very dire situation. Americans have already made a document of how will China look and how it will be governed after CCP. We have done a program on that on our Endgame series on China. You can watch that if you want. So CCP is not what it used to be a couple of years back. Why is Munir thinking of getting a martyrdom? Because ultimately China is not there what it used to be. If India plays its cards well, which we are beautifully we are playing, we can really get over a lot of menaces in this area. Because I believe with $70 trillion of debt, with all the fiascos happening in China, Xi Jinping is that, that hinge which is holding the door. Door doesn't have a strength, it is on the hinge. If the hinge falls, the door will automatically fall. Just wait and watch. If she goes, there will be a lot of changes which will happen in China, which will be visible. And I believe India's neighbor is Tibet, not China.
Milburn wants to know, do you think there was more in this Putin meeting with Trump than just peace talks?
I'll tell you what was it. Trump wanted to get its relations back on track with Russia. Trump understands they can't fight Russia. And Russia also knows vice versa. So they would have spoken, okay, forget the Zelensky. What is the world after Zelensky? That is why Trump was very categoric. Putin warning the European leaders, Trump saying it is between the Zelensky and some of the European leaders. He did not mention NATO, but NATO jumped into the whole picture because NATO wants to be seen relevant. Obviously, they will talk about getting the relations better. Nobody wants to mess up. You can't have a war between America and Russia in any way whatsoever. That will be disastrous for the world. And in the process, if there are a couple of countries which need to be taken out, in my opinion, Pakistan, Iran and China, they need to be taken out. Imagine these three countries are not there. 90% of the conflicts in the world will not happen today. 90%.
Rajan wants to know, Rajaraman wants to know, if US ditches its trustworthy partners, where will it stand in future? On crossroads?
No, it won't be like that because the power equations and the things change, sir. Today you will have when Trump came in, we were very gung-ho, we were very positive about it. But last couple of events after Operation Sindoor, I think after June, July, August, we're still in August. In last 2.5 months, everything about Trump started changing, and you must have also seen, we also changed our point of vis-a-vis Trump because everything crossed a tipping point. But there can be tomorrow anybody which democracy can throw in, let's say JD Vance or somebody who can again turn back the tables, who can again go and reverse the things. The problem with America is only one. The foreign policy is written for a quarter. If you have a long-term foreign policy and there are some things which you don't want to compromise, I think Americans were opportunists because after Trump, everything became a deal. Everything became very transitional. That consistency in foreign policy, that do's and do nots, that all lines got blurred. Everything is, okay, Julani, can you cut a deal? Okay, I shake your hands. This is where the things went wrong. It became too transitional. And I think the foreign policy became quarterly to monthly or weekly. I don't know what kind of a format do they run today, but it's pretty bad. I mean, I had a great respect for Marco Rubio, but Marco Rubio today saying we are monitoring the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. I think you may please your boss, but you will demean yourself. That is how I look at it.
Rajkumar wants to know, isn't it better for China that Taiwan remains a US ally? China will get access to latest semiconductor and military technologies.
Ideally, if China would have not messed up, this is what the arrangement was. But China being China and communists have to grab land. That is how they are kind of valued. They have to take more land. Xi Jinping doesn't have any credible achievements. In last his 12, 14 years of his rule, China has deteriorated. And there are a lot of things which you don't know vis-a-vis China, which we don't know because everything is concealed. The problem here is now this man is desperate. and desperate men do desperate things. Taiwan will be a desperate measure for, irrespective of the outcome. He'll play the last gamble. Unless and until Chinese Communist Party or somebody within China wants to prevent that situation. Now, if you want to prevent the debacle of China, the forces within China have to do it. It is not you, it is not me, it is not RAW, it is not CIA, it is not Russian intelligence. If you want to prevent a debacle, the people within the China, the forces within the China have to manage this madman's emissions. You need a change of guard in China very, very fast, very, very, even today. If it happens tonight, better than anything else.
Ray's son wants to know, if Trump succeeds in a peace deal for Russia-Ukraine, will Nobel Committee rush to give the Nobel Peace Prize, or will they have to also solve the Israel-Gaza problem?
Well, it doesn't really matter. Somebody wrote me a joke. He said, Suvin-bhai, why don't you suggest one thing? I said, what? Ask Trump to put 150% tariff on Norway, they will automatically give the Nobel Peace Prize. Or tell them, if you don't give me Nobel Peace Prize, I'll put 100%, 50% tariff on you. It has become a joke. Honestly, the prize has lost the sanity after the drama we have seen. I don't know why does a person like Trump need a prize. But anyway, whatever his ambitions or inhibitions are, that is for him to understand. Look, after 𝗪𝗏, after Gaza, logically Trump should not get a Nobel Peace Prize. That is my opinion. He doesn't qualify.
Next one, please. Rajaraman again. Like Xi to China, Trump weakens US. Is it not one way good for India to fast grow?
Of course, sir. Of course, you're 100% right. You see, Modi ji's 15th August Atmanirbhar push, then we did a program on PGurus. What was that about? That was because you opened that floodgates, you weaponized trades, you pushed everything, you squeezed everything. Then Modi said, okay, go, let's go 100% full throttle. Tomorrow, you can't accuse us that India is closing its economy. India doesn't believe in imports. India is 100%, a closed economy, which we are not. But today, if you have been watching me for the last 3 years, I've been telling you one thing: the time of connected world is ending. A lot of you asked me a question: what does it mean? That means, okay, I'm making this here. A part of it gets made in Taiwan, and it gets sold in USA. That is connected world. It is ending because there will be people who will corrupt the buying selling cycles, or they will be people like Trump who will weaponize the trade itself. And that has been done. There are two people who have screwed it up all. China corrupting the buying selling cycles, subsidies, undercutting, over-invoicing, all the crappy things. And now finally Trump going and weaponizing the whole thing. Okay, you want to sell this to me, pay me $50 more. Hindi mein kehte bhai-giri. It's called that, bhai-giri, okay? This ultimately, the trade has to flow as per the normal conditions of the market. If you get politics into it, then somebody else will also get politics into it. Modi ji got politics into it. And Modi ji is right, because he gave this biggest ever Atmanirbhar push. And give it 6 months, you will see a lot of groundbreaking things coming out from Bharat, which fundamentally closes a lot of dependence on the foreign countries. And he was very clear. Nirbharta means less independence. Now, if that is the mantra, you can imagine the quantum of results it will have in the next 5 years. It will change the complete geopolitical landscape.
Muthukumar Sundaram, last question. What is the status of USA 15 years from now? What advantages will accrue to Bharat then from USA?
Sir, in 15 years, as per McKinsey and kind of quite a lot of people have said, if my memory serves me right, I think by 42 or 45, we'll be around $27 trillion economy if everything goes right. At that point of time, we want to have very friendly relations with America because we believe they're a democracy we should have. A lot of countries, a lot of power equations would have changed. We are not enemies of US. US is not our enemy unless and until people like Trump who ride on the high horse, they come down. Unless and until the hyphenation from US doesn't stop. Unless and until US doesn't see if they can cut deals with anybody and everybody. Unless and until US doesn't have a transitional foreign policy. If you come down from those things, our diaspora has done fantastically well for US. They have made America proud. Look like Mr. Iyer, he has done fantastic well for himself and for America. And we had the capability to always support America's growth in the lieu of our growth. But if America wants to do other way, I hope and pray there will be a new leader which will emerge. 2-3 years down the line, I think J.D. Vance looks quite logical. I can say today. And if he changes a couple of things, I think the things can go back to it. it is very important for democracies to cooperate so that autocratic and hegemonic regimes don't come up. And forget autocratic and hegemonic regimes, you can have these Islamic theocracies which come up, which are brutal, lethal, and they don't believe in coexistence. They don't believe in anybody's coexistence. To protect the world from that, it is very important that the democracies work together, but you respect your boundaries, I respect my boundaries. You don't interfere in my stuff, I don't interfere in your stuff. And nobody is superior or inferior, everybody is same. You want to deal with me, deal. You don't want to, it's okay. But if you think you can issue sermons from the ivory tower, well, that's not going to work.
Thank you so much, and that was a wonderful program. And now let's take the Ashirvad of Mahadevji.
I would request all my brothers and sisters, kindly like, share, and subscribe. Press the bell icon, and when you get, click on all the four, because at PGurus channel we work a lot to get you the latest stuff. We do a lot of things which others don't do, and our data is very precise, concise, up to point, and latest I can tell you. So your help and patronage is really what helps. And in the world of YouTube, likes, shares, subscribes, comments, and putting on your social media really matters. That's how the platform works. I assume and presume you're going to do us a favor by doing that. On that note, Bharat Mata ki Jai, Vande Mataram, Om Namah 𝗤𝗲𝗍𝗫 Har Har Mahadev.